Hello, possums. Dr. Lena here, your very own sociologist in your lounge room or your bedroom or wherever you are. So, greetings to intrepid viewers everywhere. Now, I have to admit, I'm a little bit sleep deprived because the French Open has started. And because of the time difference, I'm up at midnight and 2 in the morning watching tennis. And I'll admit it freely, I am a sports junkie. So my annual calendar rotates around World Cup soccer, World Cup rugby, weekly sporting events, the Grand Slams. It's my way of dealing with the stress and the horror. But if you're not into sport, I do feel for you. Yeah, I do. Okay, so that's me. Now let's start with some good news. The protests that went all the way from Chicago to, I think it was Aurora, in a human chain of protests. Love seeing imaginative protests like that. Fantastic. Good on everyone who's involved. And there's been all sorts of protests going on that gets no real coverage. So I love it when you guys let me know in the comments and you say, yep, I went to a protest today in some place about something. It doesn't have to be millions. The point is generating that energy, particularly going into the summer. Oh, the summer, that's going to be epic one way or another, is it not? Okay, so in the other good news basket, the Yeti keeps losing court case after court case, on every type of issue. So on immigration, losing, on the tariffs, losing, because the courts are just reminding people of the basics, which is it's not actually the responsibility of the presidential office to issue tariffs. And he hid behind this fig leaf of it's a national emergency, we're being swamped. These Mexican drag queens are flooding the border. No, 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 actually. And the courts are pushing back. But the other big one is he's chosen to attack all the universities because he's anti-education. Why else would you put a pro wrestler in charge of education unless you were having a laugh? And it's not funny. It's actually not funny. But he's particularly targeted Harvard. And now we all realize, because the story is out, Fruit of the Loins failed to get in. hmm And Malia Obama sailed in. Now, and so because he's so vengeful, he's viciously targeting Harvard. But Marco Rubio came out today and said, we are aggressively revoking the visas of Chinese students. Aggressively revoking. That means the ones who are here and actively engaged in a degree for which the institution has been set up, and not just Harvard, ones who really depend on that income. So disruptive for people's lives. Let's have a look at what's happening with the university sector. And by that, I'll include community colleges too, because it's the same here. Your Ivy League, we call sandstone universities because they're the big ones that have the big endowments, and so they have the best facilities and these beautiful buildings and all of that. And the rest of us make do, you know, in immortal surrounds. So let's have a look, because symbolically, it's this anti-science, anti-intellectual approach. Let's have a look. All right. The curriculum. I think, well, I'd like to say these weren't good cards for the administration or the regime, as it should be correctly called, but I think it's for students. You've got, so particularly for foreign students, but also domestic students. Look at these cards, right? Five of Pentacles, out in the snow, Eight of Swords, Crossroads. These are the legal cases. These legal cases will have some wins, but I don't like this as an outcome. He is just a vandal. He's a wrecking ball in a bad suit. So this is very destructive, I think, for the entire country, because even for Americans who barely finished high school, the Ivy Leagues represent, you know, what people can achieve in the country. Global recognition for the quality of their work. Gone. Like he's undermined 80 years of global dominance in 5 months in every sphere. It's shocking. So I hope that improves because they are winning legal cases. I think this is talking about the disruption. And already I expect Australian universities will be getting more Indian and Chinese students applying. We already have significant numbers, but it makes sense in geopolitical terms. Others will go to the UK, which hopefully will treat them better. Mm. Um, Now, after that, hold on. After that, after the terrible speech at West Point, have you seen Kermit the Frog doing a lovely speech? Now, we've got to worry because Peppy the Frog is a right-wing icon, but this is our dear old Kermit. All our kids grew up with Kermit, etc. So, and it was a very lovely, heartwarming um, fake speech in the best possible way. So check it out if you need a bit of humanity in there. Now, okay, so let's talk about the looming showdown in Magaville. I don't think the bill's going to go past the Senate, at least not for the first 200 times, because you've got these ghastly figures at the top who are saying no because the cuts aren't big enough. I digress. Let's just take a moment here. All of this drama and mayhem is allegedly about bringing down the deficit, the deficit, the deficit. Now, deficits are not good in general terms. However, conservatives always do it. They treat governments. Sorry, I'm going to have to pause this to deal with the dog. Oh no. Yeah, remember. Oh no, someone's doing it. Thank God for them. So it's not really about the deficit because the deficits were enormous after Reagan, and the only president to um, really balance the books was Clinton. Okay, no one talks about that because it doesn't fit their narrative. Obama did an amazing job, but he had to deal with the 2008 crisis, etc., right? So the point is, the deficit in and of itself is problem A, but it's not the whole picture. It's failing to deal with, the Conservatives would say, stop spending, stop spending. But you could save a lot of money with, imagine this, genuine waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, that's things like um, money that should be spent on veterans gets siphoned off, in the higher echelons. You've got people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders buying $14,000 chairs and $30,000 desks and the junkets and stuff. That's one thing. But no one wants to bite the bullet that the real issue is taxing corporations, the uber rich and corporations. And that can only be done if we as a global collective all do it. So there's no point Australia saying we're going to tax Google in Australia, we're going to tax Apple, and no one else doing it. It's time to do it collectively. Is there any hope? This is my dream, but I just see it as an economic bottom line. This is how you actually deal with this sort of scale of debt. It could be undone in a few years. They wouldn't even feel it. At the moment, they're focused over here and not over there, but we'll get to that in a moment. But is there any chance of global taxing of the corpse? Global taxing. Let's have a look at that question. Will we see it in our lifetimes? Oh, strategy. Oh, all right. This is interesting. Oh, I really didn't expect this, and I love being surprised. Okay, this is at the moment every country struggling with its debts. And then people, excuse me, individually struggling with household debt and personal debt. It's all about, we're talking about debt. I was saying, why don't we have a global strategy? Well, here's a guy with the world in his hands having a think. This is the card of strategy. And I tell you why it might be possible in the next couple of years when it wouldn't before. Because of this tower, that is disruption, global disruption caused by the Yeti, having a dummy spit, relying on an absolute imbecile to give him financial advice, a man who's spectacularly unqualified, the power of Peter Navarro, like Scott Bessant's just the messenger. This is Peter Navarro's baby. How one inadequate could cause this disruption. But this actually, like all towers, towers create resilience, but they also are opportunities to rebuild. And so, with this Empress here, now the Empress expands things, and there's the wheat and the water and the little lamb and the little calf. She looks after people. So it's after this tower, right? It's after this tower that this is a chance because I think part of the awakening, an overused term, let's hope it's actually happening, but things change. Just like in the 60s were actually very conservative in most countries until they weren't. And suddenly there was this new zeitgeist. And I think this is what we're looking at in terms of money, who's got it, who hasn't. The poor being expected yet again to subsidize the rich, which is what this tax bill's about, while they pay less. I think people are going to start questioning that. They're really going to question it because at the moment people don't. People are so ground down, it's hard to actually get people to pay attention to something like a budget bill. And I understand that. I do understand it. Right. But the tower could be a change. There's also a bit of a Russian vibe with these two cards. It could also be a tower in Russia that could change things dramatically. But I think this is in terms of global. So it's hard to see past the gaslighting and the drama every day, but we must. So you need to rise above it, go to the symbolic high ground so you get a clearer view of the longer picture, bigger picture, longer picture. Really important, really important. My God. And thanks for all your comments, guys. You rock. For me, it is such a privilege to do this work. Such a privilege. So thank you. So Oh, and in Australia at the moment, we've got massive flooding. It's been going on and on for months. So we've got two of the states on the eastern seaboard, my two states that I've lived in for many years, max flooding, shocking, 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 destructive flooding. And then where I am now, drought, right? Because Australia's a big continent, so we have it all going on. But thank you, many of you have asked. I'm not in the flood zone, mercy, mercy. But I am going up to the flood zone in a couple of weeks, but that's a different story. Okay, so what I want to have a look at now, the right wing shock jocks are getting tired of the Yeti. They have a low boredom threshold. They've exploited it to the max. They've got viewership of millions. And now he's either a bit embarrassing or so god awful that you can't defend the ramblings of the crazy guy who is also sapping your personal wealth, Ben Shapiro, Zuckerberg, all of them, like Joe Rogan, who apparently now is going a bit evangelical or Pentecostal or something. Don't quote me on that. I haven't had time to follow through, but I saw a headline like that. Because he's another one. He just goes, whoever's in front of him owns his brain. And that used to be his strength because he'd have all sorts of different people. And so he'd have, oh, there's a different point of view. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, made me think about that. Even if you didn't like him, he used to have that quality. Now he's lurched to the right. That is not an attractive quality. It's just who can be more right wing and more conspiratorial. And yeah, he hasn't lost enough viewers yet. Now, Ben Shapiro, right wing smartass, he's now dealing to the Trumps, more so than someone like Rogan is. He's dealing to it. And Ben Shapiro is shocked, shocked, intrepid viewers, that Don Jr. and the whole Trump family are making money in a crude, transparent way off the back of the presidency. Where was he first time round? And he's got this petulant voice. This is corruption. This is not right. I mean, please spare us all. You nasty little stubborn child who refused to look. So let's have a look. These right-wing shock jocks on the turn. It's not all of them, but the younger ones. Let's have a look. Are they going to keep turning? Let's see. Hmm. Well, yeah, but no, but interesting cards in the sense I think they're feeling ripped off. Right. So they're a bit embarrassed, but they don't do embarrassment and they don't do admitting they're wrong. It's like things Trump's doing now that they find offensive. It's like a brand new day. Imagine him doing illegal real estate deals. Can you imagine? It's like now they're feeling ripped off. I couldn't be happier. These two cards are much more conciliatory. They're starting to actually get a bit of balance. I don't think they'll get it right, and I don't think they'll rush out and support and advocate for the marginalised and the working poor. I think they're a million miles from that. But they're stepping back from being ardent followers. They get the lover's card too, meaning there's a softening of their position, and let's hope the harshness gets focused where it should because they still want to go on and make money. So they're still going to be contentious and they're still going to say provocative things, because that's how they make money and that's what makes them happy. But, they can't quite join Tennessee Brando or Fair and Balanced or Secular Talk, but they're moving away from the felon. Grateful for small mercies. All right. Oh, Anonymous. Yes, we have to talk about Anonymous. So, oh, now I have to clear something up. So, um, now I often have a go at the Dem leadership, and I don't want to get a reputation for being a Dem basher. And I always try and painstakingly separate the leadership from the talent in the second tier. So just being crystal clear, my criticism is they have so much talent, and there's the obvious ones like AOC and Jasmine Crockett, who are wonderful firebrands. That's fabulous, but they're not going to pull centrists in. But you've also got the Adam Schiffs, Tim Walz. You've got the Jared Mankiewicz, you've got Eric Swalwell, you've got people Buttigieg. There are so many. Sheldon Whitehouse, who has single-handedly tracked down the corruption of the Supreme Court, and blessings on the other side of another lineup in terms of Dems winning in the future. These impeachments will be backed up to Nebraska, right? So we've got that to look forward to, but we've got to get through the middle first. Not easy, not easy. So I just want to be clear on that. My moan is the leadership is weak. Chuck Schumer, past his use-by date, really. Sorry. Hakeem Jeffries, too laid back. Ken Martin, no, invisible. So new leadership, please, Stamps, and let the talent rise. And those who are comfortable with the sound bites, you can smack people down in a sentence. I'm optimistic. I think as people get more and more cranky, angry, dare I say desperate too, in all sorts of ways, they will want leadership. So we'll look at that on another day. What was I going to look at now? Oh, Anonymous. I'll pull some cards, the Oracle cards on Anonymous, and then I'll finish with some cards for you guys. Okay, let's have a look here. Let's have a look. I mean, it's just been amazing watching the Yeti. He's a funny mix, isn't he? On the one hand, he caves in like this, and on the other hand, then other issues he'll double down, or both. There was that Australian economist who's doing the rounds at the moment, Justin Wolfer, I think his name is, and he was saying to a commentator earlier in the week, he went in to have a shower with the EU at 10%, Taryn came out and they were 50% in the time it took him to have a shower. Or maybe it went from 25 to 50, who can remember? But he couldn't believe it. It sort of seared into his brain. That's how volatile and crazy that's it. Now, Anonymous. So, last time they gave us the names of the missing men who have been the Venezuelans taken to El Salvador. That's important, again, when the legal system is functioning. Habeas corpus. Now, what can they have that is big enough to turn the dial? I think it's in the timing, because they said 38 days from whenever they made the announcement. Doing my rough math, that took me to July the 4th, but it might be a day or two earlier in the US. I haven't had a minute to go back and actually do the calculations, but it's obviously around then. It's obviously going to be around the 250th anniversary. Well, I'm saying obvious. I have no clue. I have no clue. I'm assuming it's going to be around that because we know sex scandals don't work. Wouldn't matter. You could have the Yeti himself in latex hanging from a chandelier and it wouldn't change anything. So I want to have a look myself because this morning on Hogarth's channel, there are 3,000 of you there, bless, in the live stream. That was such a buzz. And we looked at it, but we only drew one card each. Um, but what I'm secretly hoping, regardless of what the cards actually say, I'll let them speak in a minute, but my fantasy is, wait, I'll tell you when I've pulled the cards. Remind me. Lena's fantasy for Anonymous. What are they going to bring out? Let's have a look. Hiding something, security cameras, unexpected result, mainstream news, and surprise attack. Right. I think it's going to be military information. What I was hoping for, and I will always hope for, is someone has audio of the Yeti dissing MAGA. I'd love that. However, focus. These cards have something to say themselves very much. So, somebody's hiding something. Well, yes, that's the guts of the question. That's what Anonymous does, goes and digs out things that are hidden. Security cameras. So I think this time it's going to be footage, which is always more powerful even than audio, right? So Signalgate was audio, but we didn't have the visuals. I think Pete Hegg says something military, something. An unexpected result from this, like I think it's going to have some impact. Oh, please, Anonymous, please don't just tease us and offer the Yeti in his underpants in Moscow. Please don't do that. So it does have an unexpected result. Mainstream news, who've been so busy sanitizing their ranks and, literally bleaching out the news and being secondhand sycophants to the tyrannical cabinet and the craziness of the cabinet, it's going to shift them, and that's because it's visual. Wow. And surprise attack. So I think it's going to be something about a surprise attack that the US was about to do, and it'll be exposed by Anonymous, or a surprise attack that could be coming to impact America in some way, and they expose it, which could actually make a vast difference if the Pentagon misses it because they've got an alcoholic at the helm. Probably not their first, but at least the others were functional. Okay, so look at these one more time. It involves security cameras in a hidden area, an unexpected result, the mainstream news trying to deal with this, and I don't think they can suppress the visuals, and a surprise attack. Wow, 4 weeks away. All right, my beloveds, now let's just have a little look for you guys. So, having a look here. Oh, another thing I just wanted to say generally, like the way the Yeti operates, he always takes credit if something major happens when he's in fact had nothing to do with it. So JD Vance and others are going about the prisoner swap between Russia and Ukraine. That was brokered by the UAE, not America. Okay, so now this is for you guys. Let me clean the energy out here. What do the viewers need to know? Let's have a look. Oh, that's sweet. Mhm. Look, yes. Now, you guys are across all this. You guys are seasoned campaigners in the sense you're smart, you have a heart, you understand how the politics of things work. In broad strokes, you've got it going on. But look at this. More false news. Right. Let it wash over you. It's really important not to react to everything. It's no surprises. Okay. Now, can be the card of nostalgia, and I'm sure many of you are nostalgic for the time pre-2016, and I don't blame you. However, I think this is more specifically about children. I think it's about if you have children in your life, because it's easy even as a grandparent to get frazzled and juggling everything and missing some of the gorgeous bits. But even if you haven't got young children in your life, it could be your inner child. Your inner child really, really, really needs reclaiming to find the joy in the simple things. Now, I'll return to the Three of Pentacles in a moment. These two cards, right? So this is how you guys are feeling. You know, of course, you're feeling not literally in the snow. Maybe some of you still have a bit of snow, but it's easy to go past the light. And it doesn't matter what religious persuasion you are, we here share a common respect for the universe and things. So don't let them sap your soul. It's important to move to a better place. I think this is talking about in our inner worlds. This whole read is about our inner world. So you need to keep on top of the news, but not every news cycle. Once a day is enough, and then do other luscious things on top to move to smoother waters because you need to do that so you can absorb the big things that are happening and have it in a better perspective, right? Because otherwise, we all know it's a constant assault. So think about those two things. Remember the light, that's a hint. Maybe up your spiritual practice. If you've been doing the same thing or the same meditation or something for 30 years, you know what? It might be a bit tired. Time to reinvigorate it. Swords are also the intellect. So think about that. I often advise my students and people who come to me for readings and say, kick back with a legal pad and just write out the things, just bullet points that are holding you back. All the negative stuff, just get it down. You might write 20 pages. And then there's that, get it out, not in. Also, like I was saying, update your spiritual practice. Think about what that means. Maybe you need new music when you're having quiet time. Instrumental, just freshen up your spiritual practice. And that means, this is the juicy bit, you can then, and I'm including all the men who watch this in this, you then inhabit your Queen of Wands. This is someone who's completely secure in their own power. Because all this negativity over the last decade, right, saps your power, saps your confidence, saps your trust in people, saps your trust in each other. It's so important to reclaim your power so you can help others. So, oh, sorry, I forgot this is working with other people. I know I keep harping about that, and that's because it's really important. So you might decide once a week or once a month, I'm going to meet online even with two other people. Three is a good number, three. And we're just going to do a prayer of light and love. Multiples of three. Ritual and magic work in multiples of three. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you really soon. So take care, guys. Ciao.